We are very pleased to have everyone with us for 5 ways Affinity is key to success in fiscal year 19. As you read the opener to this webinar, I hope you noticed that it covered a large swath of the advancement office. We're going to be talking about marketing automation and its ability to have a quick impact in a number of different locations across the advancement office, whether it be plan giving, major gifts, or bringing in the right donor number by June 30th for our directors of annual giving. Now, for all of you tuned in today, you'll notice that we're talking about tools, and we're talking about marketing automation as a tool. And so I'll encourage you to think about trying to raise money without Affinity. It's like trying to frame a house without nails. And so if we have capacity information or we have previous giving history, we likely have a lot of lumber lying around. But if we're really trying to build a house and we're really trying to be strategic with the architecture that we're going to put into place within the advancement office, Affinity is really the key metric that's going to help us put up the right house and put up the right architecture within the advancement office. So what we're really focused on is how are we going to be able to use the tools that we provide through Affinity, through marketing automation, to really maximize the time that we have left in fiscal year 19. And so let's talk quickly for a moment about why we're here. And one of the great examples that we have is through a study that Capture was able to do with a leading state institution on gift officer outreach. And right now we know that using existing Affinity methods and using existing methods to assign prospects to alumni, we know that gift officer outreach is only 9% effective. So I'll take a minute to walk you through the chart on the screen. On the far right of the chart is 76% of alumni outreach that goes to alumni who never respond to that outreach. In the middle is the 15% of alumni outreach that is aimed towards alumni who do answer the phone, who do respond to an email, but they then decline a visit from a gift officer. On the far left, you'll see the 9% of alumni outreach who is 9% of alumni, who do actually accept a visit when contacted by a gift officer. And so one of the challenges that we're facing today is how do we become more efficient with gift officer outreach? Now, behind this study is actually 5 different gift officers that were tracked for a year, and we analyzed all of their different outreach, whether it be phone calls, whether it be emails, whether it be personal visits, that sort of thing, where they drop by, and we tried to identify which one of those actually resulted in a visit. And so as we start to identify the remaining 4 months that we have left in the fiscal year, the question becomes, how do we take that 9% of gift officer outreach, or how do we focus our annual giving solicitations on alumni who are most likely to give and increase that participation metric so we can really maximize the 4 months that we have remaining? So I'll take a quick minute to say hello. My name is Kevin Bauman. I am the Director of Philanthropic Initiatives here at Capture Higher Ed. And I've had the pleasure for the last 15 years of working with institutions across the country to integrate annual giving, major, and planned giving initiatives. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about today's presentation is the ability to monitor alumni on your website to provide Affinity metrics for the institution today. Because as we talked about at the opener, Affinity can be such an important aspect to everything that we're doing. So let's talk about why marketing automation for fiscal year-end results. So if you're tuning in for the first time, marketing automation is similar to the technology that large online retailers use to track their visitors and then deliver meaningful messaging based on those behaviors. So let's take the example of streaming services. Streaming services use this exact same technology. And let me just give a quick disclaimer in saying we do not work with Netflix. I'm going to use Netflix as an example, but our work is really focused on higher education. But if you're familiar with Netflix as an example, when you log into your account, and let's say you watch a movie and it's a Western, and then the next time you log in, it recommends that you watch this movie that has John Wayne in it. That's an example of marketing automation tracking your behavior and then delivering meaningful messaging to engage that audience. So through that cycle of watching a Western movie and then being recommended a movie by John Wayne, you probably say, yes, I like movies with John Wayne in it. And then you watch that movie, and then the next time you log in the next week, you see a message that says, because you enjoyed the Westerns with John Wayne in them, we believe that you would enjoy this Western that has a similar actor in it. And you say, great, I'll watch that movie. So now you've watched 3 different movies with Netflix, and then at the end of the month, when the bill comes, you sit there and say, well, great, I really feel like I got a lot of value out of my subscription. I'll continue to do that. Now, marketing automation in higher education, we're not going to recommend movies, but we are going to start to recommend content that our alumni care about based on their behaviors. So we have alumni who are in the local area who may really want to attend events. Maybe it's a young alum who recently graduated and is looking to network, and they hit the athletics page. Well, let's deliver them a message that encourages them to come to the upcoming event and network with our more established alumni. Maybe it's an alum who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have an upcoming event there. Maybe it's an alum that lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and we think that they would really love an update on our entrepreneurship program. Marketing automation provides that same ability to track user behaviors and then deliver meaningful content to build relationships with alumni that then build philanthropy. And how does it do that? Well, with that first visit, when alum receive that custom content, they enjoy their experience in the same way that an alum may watch that John Wayne movie. They then return because they had a great user experience. And when they have an additional experience that they enjoy, they continue to browse on the institution's website. And by the end of this process, maybe they come back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. When a solicitation arrives, alumni are 4 to 7 times more likely to then respond positively to that solicitation. So what is marketing automation at its core? At its core, marketing automation is really just a small bit of code that's placed on the institution's website. It can live in either the header or the footer of the main domain. And then there's a small bit of code that is incorporated into outbound e-communications. And the reason marketing automation is such an exciting development for fiscal year end is because applying that small snippet of code to the website takes less than a half hour. As a matter of fact, our record for implementation here at Capture is under 20 minutes. And then incorporating that snippet of code into outbound e-communications can happen as soon as your next email goes out. And so everything that you're going to see today can actively be providing you information within the same day. So let's talk about what does it look like within the first 30 days. Now we're going to start with major gifts, because one of the really exciting opportunities with Affinity and major gifts is the ability to prioritize major gift relationships. And so you'll see 2 case studies on the screen, and I'm going to encourage you to look at 2 different themes there. And as you read through that, you'll notice that marketing automation is going to identify alumni who have high capacity, who are already managed by a gift officer, but it's also going to identify high capacity alumni who do not have an existing relationship with a gift officer. And so since we're talking about how much impact we can have at the end of a fiscal year, I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit difficult to start developing new relationships and then close a major gift within the next 4 months. So in both of these examples, I'm going to encourage you to look at the relationships that existing gift officers have. And as we start to get to that point in the year where gift officers have to start making commitments and saying that this gift is going to come in, or this gift we're going to have to push to fiscal year 20, we're starting to get into the point in the year where gift officers are looking for that opportunity to get in front of that donor one last time to try and push that gift forward. And so what you're going to see here is the ability to identify a significant population of major gift prospects who are actively engaged by a gift officer, and then create that opportunity to visit with that prospect before the fiscal year end. And so what does that look like in real life? Well, I'm going to give you a minute to read 3 snippets about Angela, and then I'll tune back in. Okay, so I read along with you, so I'm hoping that you had a chance to read that, or you're nearing the end of that. So this is based on actual visit behaviors that marketing automation is tracking on partner websites. We have changed some of the details for privacy concerns, but just know that what we're showing you are actual interventions that marketing automation provides. So as you can see, Angela is assigned to a gift officer and has a scholarship discussion already started. And so this gift officer is trying to find a way to get back in front of Angela before the end of the fiscal year to try and close this gift to maximize our fiscal year end results. And as you can see there, by monitoring her behaviors online, we can identify the actual points of affinity that Angela has with the institution in the near term. So Angela clicked through this afternoon on an article in the newsletter. She then spent a half hour reading different events on the news page, and then she came back, researched the strategic plan, and then went on to visit the page looking at a first-generation scholarship. So some pretty exciting insights, but the question becomes, Kevin, how am I going to reach out to Angela? This is great insight. Our best practice is don't say to call Angela and say, Angela, we see that you were on the institution's website yesterday. Our best practice is say, let's use the information that we have available to us and create meaningful outreach. So based on the information that you see in front of you, you'll notice that Angela looked at the university's strategic plan. And so as a gift officer who has an existing conversation started about a scholarship, I have a wonderful opportunity to now reach out to Angela and put the strategic plan in front of her, because we know that this is a very meaningful opportunity for Angela. So in calling Angela and saying, Angela, I'd like to follow up on our scholarship, but more importantly, I'd like to talk about the broader picture of how that fits into the university's strategic plan, can create that meaningful opportunity to engage that donor one more time before the end of the fiscal year. Now, Angela is a great example, but Angela is not alone. Let me give you a minute to meet Kelly. Now, Kelly's similar to Angela in the fact that she has an existing relationship with a gift officer. So she's actually further down the road than Angela is. She's gone quiet after a proposal. As a gift officer, I'm looking for the opportunity to then engage Kelly before the end of the fiscal year. And with marketing automation monitoring Kelly's behavior, we now know that she's read the president's blog on technology, and we know that there's an important topic that she has with technology shaping the workforce. But more importantly, for our use case at the end of the fiscal year, we know that she has looked into the upcoming Senior Art Showcase. And this Senior Art Showcase, which happens next month, is a wonderful opportunity to reach out to Kelly to touch base and say, Kelly, we have some great events happening on campus. One of the things we're really excited about is our Senior Art Showcase. We would love for you to join us there and grab dinner afterwards. This creates the perfect opportunity for the gift officer to reach out to Kelly before the end of the fiscal year to further that conversation and hopefully close that gift. Now, if you think Angela and Kelly are alone, I'd like to introduce you to our last example. I promise this is not just going to be all examples, but there are so many examples of the alumni that marketing automation tracks and then delivers meaningfully to gift officers that the last example I want to give you is Betty and Vernon. I'll give you a minute to meet Betty and Vernon. Now, Betty and Vernon are going to be a little bit different than the first two examples. Betty and Vernon do not have an existing relationship with the gift officer, but Betty and Vernon have taken two very significant actions that signal that this would be a great time to reach out. First, recently they increased their annual giving from $250 to $5,000, a very significant increase at their age. You'll notice they both graduated in the 1960s. They're both married alum. But in the last few months, marketing automation has tracked Betty on the website over 10 different times. And she's really looking into retired faculty, but she has also looked into leaving gifts of stock in her estate plan. So some pretty exciting opportunities for new interventions, knowing that this may be a wonderful time in the fiscal year to reach. Now, for our major gift officers, I'm going to give you a minute to ponder the different examples that we have and saying, why would we not want to reach out to alumni who are actively engaging the institution today and use that as an opportunity to reach out before the fiscal year? Because we do have some opportunities for our directors of annual giving who are also tuning in today. So if you're tuning in as a director of annual giving, I'd like you to think about an upcoming day of giving. So if you've got a day of giving coming up in March or April, marketing automation is not just the ability to monitor alumni while they're on the website, but it's the ability to influence their behaviors when they're on that website. So what you see in front of you is an actual marketing intervention that is displayed on the website in real time. You'll notice that this is a live example from an upcoming day of giving that we're supporting for a partner. And this message overlays the screen. You'll notice the back of the website is all grayed out with an X on the top right. And we're able to deliver a marketing intervention when, where, and how alumni are engaging the institution today. So in this example, with your upcoming day of giving, think about the opportunity to deliver this message to every visitor on every page of the website on your day of giving. So if you're running Google Analytics, you may know how many alumni, or you may know how many visitors in general are visiting your website. Marketing automation is going to give you the ability to deliver this message to every single visitor on the day of giving to direct traffic to that day of giving site. Now, I want to make an important differentiation here because marketing automation is different than microsites. If you're using microsites to track behavior, know that 80% of alumni behaviors are actually on non-advancement pages. And so if you're tracking behaviors on alumni pages using microsites, so if you're tracking the plan giving page and you're tracking the alumni newsletter landing page, all of those sorts of things, we're actually going to miss 80% of alumni behaviors. And more importantly, true marketing automation is the ability to deliver marketing interventions on those pages, which you see in front of you. And so by delivering the right marketing intervention on the actual day of giving, this is part of a larger digital strategy that helped drive 10% of all traffic to a partner's day of giving page. That partner was able to double their previous record and had an incredibly successful day of giving page. Day of giving. So let's talk about why deliver that day of giving message online. Well, one of the really exciting opportunities with delivering messaging online through marketing intervention is we're able to engage an audience who is most likely to give to the campaign this year. So the chart that you see in front of you, I'm going to walk you through it quickly. On the bottom are the number of times an alum has visited the website. On the top are the corresponding participation rates for each one of those numbers of visits. Now, you'll notice in the middle that the division-wide annual participation rate is 11%, because this information has been compounded across institutions that Capture works with in the advancement space. Now, for an alum who has visited one time on the far left of the screen, you'll notice that their participation rate is 45%. Now, on the extreme other end, if an alum has visited 12 times, their participation rate is 83%. Now, let's compare that to the overall divisional-wide participation rate of 11%, and we can now begin to deliver messaging to alumni who are 4 to 7 times more likely to document the institution in their estate plan. And so not only are we tracking donors to be able to deliver meaningful information to major gift officers, but we're creating marketing interventions that are able to solicit our most likely to give donors at the very end of the fiscal year. But don't worry, if you're in plan giving and you're tuning in today, you're not alone. We have some wonderful interventions in the plan giving space that I think you're going to be really excited about. So in plan giving, what you see in front of you is some of our newest research that charts the rate of documenting the institution in their estate plans based on activity online. So let me take a quick moment to walk you through this chart. On the bottom left, you'll notice that alumni who do not visit the website document the institution in their estate plan at about a 1% rate. But then in the middle, you'll notice that alumni who visit the website, so simply the fact that they show up online, makes them 5 times more likely to document the institution in their estate plan. If we go over to the far right, you'll notice that alumni who are most active on the website, so I'm going to go back one slide here. So you'll notice that alumni who are most active on the website are most likely to give to the campaign this year, but alumni who are most active on the website are also 20 times more likely to document the institution in their estate plan compared to alumni who do not show up online. So some pretty exciting interventions that are possible because of marketing automation. But the question becomes, how does that become meaningful for me before the end of June? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here's an example for Amy. We covered a number of different examples for major gift officers. And so let's cover one for plan giving officers. Now, what you see in front of you, I'm going to walk you through quickly, is an actual example from an alum who was tracked at one of our partners. And Amy clicked through a plan giving email, which drove her to the plan giving page. You'll see that on day 1. You'll see that 2 weeks later, Amy returned to the website. She returned organically, and she read about student scholarships. About a week later, she returned to read about scholarships again. Within a couple of days, she was back on the website, continuing to read about scholarships. And then in the next week or so, she returned to the Plan Giving page, where she downloaded multiple resources from the Plan Giving site about leaving the institution in her estate plan. And then you'll notice on day 30, she returned to research a charitable IRA rollover, very specific type of Plan Giving vehicle. Now, as a Plan Giving officer, I already know that simply by the fact that Amy has showed up online, she is 5 times more likely to document the institution in her estate plan. But now, when we look into Amy's individual behaviors, we can start to see that there's a wonderful opportunity for me to reach out to Amy in the very near future and simply offer myself as a meaningful resource to an individual who is clearly looking at documenting the institution in her estate plan. And by prioritizing the right relationships at fiscal year end, Plan Giving officers can start to develop those relationships that may turn into a quickly documented estate gift. In the worst case scenario, a Plan Giving officer is going to start to develop those relationships that may turn into a estate gift that is documented in fiscal year 20 or fiscal year 21. So some pretty exciting examples in Plan Giving as well. Now, for our directors of annual giving, I want you to know that there's some more opportunity to engage alumni before fiscal year end. And as we talked about, the really exciting opportunity here is that we're engaging alumni when, where, and how they engage the institution today. And we know that phone calls can arrive at inconvenient times, and we know that mailers can get lost in the pile. But every day, alumni are choosing to visit our website. And so by meeting them online with marketing intervention, we're meeting them at the time where they're choosing to engage the institution, and we can deliver our fiscal year-end solicitation to those alumni who are 4 to 7 times more likely to give. So a fun stat that you'll see at the bottom is 1 in 3 donors is active with the institution online. Over the entire course of the year, those donors, those 1 in 3 donors, average 9 visits. So marketing automation provides a wonderful solicitation channel to engage those donors throughout the entirety of the fiscal year. But at the very end of the fiscal year, we've got a wonderful opportunity to engage those donors one last time and ask them to renew their support. What you see in front of you is an actual marketing intervention that will be displayed on a partner's website to help drive fiscal year-end giving. And so a wonderful example of how we can use marketing automation to not only track alumni behaviors, but start to deliver meaningful solicitations to maximize our donor count at fiscal year-end. Now, what we talked about in large part is activity that happens on your website. And so as you think about marketing automation, I'd encourage you to also think about how it ties in to some of the larger strategies that you have in place, with maybe it's retargeting strategies or maybe it's household IP strategies, with the ability to deliver marketing interventions in the whole of the internet. And so in the example that you see on your screen, you'll notice that it's ESPN's website, but in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see that there's an actual marketing intervention for Faux State, which is our demo institution. But Faux State has created a retargeting campaign soliciting alumni to come back and support student scholarships. And so in this example, it's really important to think about how marketing automation ties into the larger strategies that you have in your digital space. So if you're running retargeting campaigns or you're running household IP strategies, think about how marketing automation and driving those alumni back to the website to then track those behaviors and then deliver meaningful engagement can really be a game changer. Now, the question becomes, how does Affinity tie into that before the end of the fiscal year? Well, one of the really exciting things about Affinity is if you're starting to deploy different types of retargeting campaigns, we call them digital display technology. But if you're starting to deploy different types or you're looking to do it on a controlled budget, we know that alumni who have high affinity for the institution based on their online activity are twice as active in participating with digital display technology as compared to alumni who have less affinity. So affinity is a wonderful indicator of if an alum is going to participate in your retargeting campaign. So if you're starting to think about digital display technology, or you're starting to think about how your existing retargeting solutions are going to tie in with your website, think about the fact that affinity on your website is a very important indicator of success with your retargeting strategies. So takeaways from today, and then I'll open it up for some general questions. If you're tuning in for the first time, I should also mention that we like to keep our advancement webinars to roughly about a half hour because we know it is a exciting but busy time at the end of the fiscal year. So I will open it up quickly to questions, but let's go over 4 quick takeaways if you're looking to use Affinity through marketing automation before fiscal year end. The first is to just know that Affinity is truly key to gift officer efficiency at fiscal year end. If you think back to the beginning slide, you'll remember that 9% of gift officer outreach is actually focused on alumni who take a visit. If we can use marketing automation to prioritize the right relationships between now and the end of the fiscal year, and we can make that 9% 20%, or we can make that 9% 30%, then we're able to maximize the time that we have left in the fiscal year, and we're able to maximize the number of gifts that are going to come in through our gift officers. We also know that alumni visiting online are 4 to 7 times more likely to give. We just have to ask. And so by using marketing automation, we can deliver those solicitations in real time on the screen when, where, and how alumni are choosing to engage the institution today. And not only alumni in general, but alumni who are 4 to 7 times more likely to give to the campaign this year. It's also important to note that 1 in 3 donors is active online. And so you may remember that those donors are not active just at fiscal year end. It is important to know that we do need to deliver those solicitations at fiscal year end. But marketing automation is going to provide you the opportunity to engage those donors on average 9 times throughout the fiscal year to secure their support before fiscal year end. And then lastly, marketing automation is a wonderful way to identify prospects considering a planned gift in the near future. So if you remember the example of Amy, who visited the planned giving site, then went to the scholarship page 3 different times over the course of a month before returning to the planned giving site to download multiple resources. It's a wonderful indicator of which relationships we need to prioritize in the planned giving space and how we can start to prioritize those relationships before fiscal year end. So with that, I promise to leave some time for questions here at the end. So Alicia, can I turn it back over to you? Do we have any questions coming in?
Thank you, Kevin. We're now going to begin answering the questions submitted. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane on your attendee control panel. Hold on 1 second, Kevin. Let me get your first one. Let's see. It looks like someone asked, you mentioned that 80% of visits aren't on alumni pages. So where are they?
Ooh, I love that question. Thank you. Thank you to that person who's paying close attention. I only mentioned that in brief. I'm going to guess that's a director of annual giving tuning in today. That's correct. 80% of alumni visits are not on advancement pages. It turns out that alumni have a relationship with particular areas across the institution. So maybe for some alum, it's that accounting professor that helped them get through accounting because it wasn't the easiest class for them. Maybe for other alumni, it's the basketball team, and they're really engaged with the coach's blog. Or maybe they're visiting the roster or constantly checking up on sports scores. The answer to that question is so broad because individual alumni behaviors and individual points of affinity are individual. And so alumni are engaging with those points where they have a relationship with the institution. And so the 20% of alumni behaviors that are on advancement pages are generally when an alum is looking to make a gift. So let's take the planned giving page. What a wonderful example we had with Amy, who was actively looking into planned giving resources. That would be an example of an alum who is looking at an advancement page. But for years and years and years before that, Amy was likely actively looking into her own areas of affinity with the institution, which likely were not on advancement pages. So thank you for that question. I hope that answers it. Please follow up with me afterwards. There's actually a report that is available for download on Capture's website. It's alumni visit behaviors, who visits where. and it's a great example of documenting where alumni are visiting across an institution's website.
All right, and I've got another question for you. Someone says you mentioned major giving, planned giving, and annual giving. How does this apply to leadership gifts?
Oh, I love that question. If you're tuning in with leadership annual giving, I hope that you don't feel left out. We did touch on major gifts, planned giving, and annual giving, but leadership annual giving is a wonderful application. In many respects, I think you're going to find some similarities to major gift officers and planned giving officers who are looking for those opportunities to engage their prospects before fiscal year end. Because I hope you've been developing those relationships throughout the entirety of the fiscal year. We are getting closer to that point where we are going to make that solicitation, or we've already made that solicitation and asked for the gift, and now it's time to follow up. And so, in large part, I hope you think of the opportunity to identify the additional engagement point for leadership annual giving. But also, if you've already given that solicitation and you've already asked that alum to get involved at that level, it's a wonderful way to monitor alumni behaviors after that proposal has been given to see if there is activity. Because in some ways, an alum who has received a proposal and who is actively researching that proposal may need a little bit of space just to simply look that over. So what we would be looking for is an alum who received that proposal, is looking into that particular area, and then maybe goes quiet for a little bit. That would be a really good key for us to make sure that we are intervening and keeping that conversation alive. So if you're thinking about this from a leadership annual giving perspective, please think of the ability to not only prioritize the right relationships and then deliver meaningful solicitations, but to also then identify at which point should we follow up and begin to further that conversation.
Great answer, Kevin. Let's see. It looks like we've got one more question. It says, can you explain how we would get started using this technology?
I love that question. Absolutely. So you may remember from some comments earlier that marketing automation is really as simple as a small snippet of code that lives on your website. And that snippet of code can be placed in less than a half an hour. And then it's a small snippet of code that is combined in your existing outbound e-communications. And so alumni can begin to be identified as soon as your next email sends. So really exciting question if you're looking to implement this technology. Certainly we here at Capture would love to have that conversation. We are happy to give a demo for how that technology is applied. Please follow up with me personally afterwards, and we would be happy to point you in the direction of a few different resources. There's also, if you tune into Capture's blog, I'd encourage you to look at a specific blog that is frequently asked questions if you're considering marketing automation. So marketing automation is catching on. A lot of institutions are moving this direction for a number of the different reasons that we discussed today. And so if you're starting to ask those questions about is marketing automation right for our institution, please feel free to reach out to us directly. But if you don't want to reach out to us directly to begin with, I'd encourage you to start leveraging some of the resources that are available on Capture's website and certainly through Capture's blog, because I think there are 6 different questions you should be asking that I think are going to help you determine that outcome.
Awesome. And Kevin, that is the last of the questions, so I'm gonna leave it with you.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being a wonderful hostess, and thank you to everyone on the line who has joined us this afternoon. I hope you learned how much Affinity is key to helping build the right architecture within an advancement office. There are a number of different ways that capacity plays into our existing advancement efforts, and identifying the right alumni and prioritizing alumni through their affinity can really have a profound impact, not only at fiscal year end, although those impacts are amplified because we do have a condensed time frame. But marketing automation is really a tool that's going to help your advancement office throughout the entirety of the fiscal year to prioritize the right relationships, get in front of the right alumni in maybe June and July and August of next fiscal year to make sure that June of fiscal year 20, you're in a position that may be better, that may be twice as good, it may be 3 times as good, But certainly we want to make sure that marketing automation is there throughout the entirety of the fiscal year to help amplify fiscal year end results by fiscal year end of 2020. So thank you again. Please get in contact with us if we can help with your FY19 results. Otherwise, we look forward to having a larger conversation about how marketing automation can help your fiscal year 20 results. Thanks so much to everyone. Best of luck before fiscal year end.